Hello, world. Oh, what is up? Welcome to Build. I'm your host, Matt Forte, and I'm having the best day ever. We are here live at the Build studio in New York City. Now, you know our next guest best as the Kitten Lady. She's dedicated her life to saving the tiniest of felines, and with her new book, Tiny But Mighty, she covers everything from her personal journey to mountains of practical knowledge and guides on how you, too, can save some furry friends. Not to mention, and this is important, hundreds, literally hundreds of adorable kitten photos. Tiny But Mighty is a fantastic book for animal lovers, current and future rescuers, foster parents, activists, advocates, and generally speaking, people with eyes and hearts will love this book. Folks, please make some noise and welcome the great Hannah Shaw right here. Make some noise. Do it up.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. And this is already my favorite part of, I don't know, the history of time. I'm just gonna, is this all right if I just let
kittens are climbers, so that's very natural what's happening.
This is natural
here.
what's happening right now, right? I am very much at the core an animal lover, an animal person, but I lean more dog. I've had cats in my life. I've been around cats. I love cats, but not necessarily my comfort zone. However, this does feel right.
I think that's his comfort zone.
Well, that's just, I was gonna say, I'm more concerned for, I think this is Barney. I have Barney and you have...
Wait.
Do you have Ted? Or do you have Barney?
You have Marshall. No.
I have Marshall, you have Barney.
You have Marshall, I have Barney. And
then Ted is in there.
Here. Ted's taking a nap.
Anyone getting the reference there, by the way? Yeah, a little How I Met Your Mother, fantastic, wonderful. And I am so excited you're here, and I'm so excited to talk to you about your book. And just kind of hang out with some furry little friends for a little bit. Congratulations. This book is fantastic.
Thank you. Yes, this is a big day for me.
I was going to say, it's release day, right?
Yes,
this is
today is release day, and this book means so very much to me. This book is really for anybody who cares about animals in general, because it introduces new ideas to people who might not realize how vulnerable these little guys are. You know, a lot of people assume kittens, they probably have it great, right?
Yeah.
You know, everyone loves kittens, but they're actually one of the most euthanized populations in the United States, especially little ones who are underage, under 8 weeks old.
Yeah.
These kittens can't survive without foster homes, without, awareness, public awareness about what's going on with them and how we can help. So I'm really hopeful that this book will be very eye-opening to anybody who cares about animal welfare and hopefully inspire them to get active.
We get a little bit of your story in the book, and we hear about Coco, the cat that started it all. And I was curious, like looking back at your journey, because the whole thing's been kind of serendipitous, do you think that if it wasn't Coco, that you would have eventually, like another cat would have captured your heart and set you on this path? Or was there something special about like that moment in time and like Coco being the first cat that you kind of noticed and got you set on this path?
You know, I think people love stories of special animals, and what I always say though is that every single animal I raise is special, and it really is true. You think, this is the most unique, amazing, wonderful animal I'll ever meet, and then you meet another kitten and you're like, wait a minute, this doesn't add up. You're the best kitten. Wait, you're the cutest kitten. This is the cutest kitten I've ever seen. You realize that each of these individuals, they are special, but they're not necessarily, their stories aren't necessarily unique. There's hundreds of thousands of these guys who need our help. And so I think that fateful day, it was Coco, and I love that cat. That's my #1 girl. But after that, it really opened my eyes, and I started finding kittens everywhere. I started discovering
you started seeing it more, started noticing it more.
Yeah, and once your eyes are open to it, you can't look away. There's so many kittens being born outside. 80% of kittens born every year are born outdoors on the streets to community cats. So I started learning about that and finding that there weren't a lot of resources to save these guys. So I think if it hadn't been Coco, it would have been very quickly somebody else. In fact, I found Coco in a tree, and then a couple weeks later, I found my second kitten also in a tree.
Wow.
Yeah, they grow on trees apparently. I think it is an eye-opening moment in my history, but since then, I have found so many kittens outside. I've had so many kittens brought to me by others, and obviously partnered with so many shelters all across the country. And it really is true this time of year, which is kitten season. There's kittens coming in from all over.
Right now. Yeah.
Right now, it's kitten season. So no matter where you are watching from, if you're here in New York or if you're on the West Coast or anywhere in between, there are kittens coming into shelters in large quantities, and they can't survive without people like you and me.
Why is it kitten season right now? What about this time of year?
Well, so cats' heat cycles, they go into heat more when it is warm outside. So when you have that warm weather, you also have high quantities of kittens being born, and those kittens are being found by people who don't necessarily realize mom's probably around the corner. They scoop them up, bring them to the animal shelter, and unfortunately, the animal shelter, if they don't have the resources to care for these little kittens, then they are euthanized unless there's a foster home. What people need to understand is shelters, they're doing the very, very best that they can, but they don't have overnight care. And these little guys, I mean, they came into the shelter when they were just 3 weeks old. A 3-week-old kitten, they need care every 4 hours. So
how old are they now?
These guys are 6 weeks old.
These are 6 weeks
Yeah,
old.
and
Look at that little face.
They're so much more robust and independent at this age. And you can get involved in fostering even a little kitten like this just for 2 weeks. They'll be adoptable in 2 weeks. It's like babysitting that saves lives.
Let me ask you, and this is very specific to this moment in time, but is there any way in which, I don't want to hurt Marshall when I move Marshall. I feel very comfortable. He's having a great time on my back. This is wonderful. But at this age, they're pretty well developed. I can just pick Marshall up and like cuddle him and hold him like a little baby kitten, right?
As long as he consents to being picked up and held and snuggled, which I think he does. Yeah, these guys are really sturdy, and it's amazing. People say kids grow up so fast. Kittens grow up much faster. Kids take 18 years, you guys. This takes 8 weeks.
Oh, buddy, what are you getting into?
So, when you get them, they're like a little packing peanut.
Hang on a second. I'm trying to find the best way to navigate this scenario.
You have become a human cat tree.
I know, which I think was on the bucket list, so I can check that off.
When they're born so tiny, they fit in the palm of your hand.
There's your head. All right, can you calm down? So when they're born, they're really tiny. They fit in the palm of your hand. And there's some great photos in the book. We get to see them at those really early stages as well.
And I have a week-by-week age progression. It's called What to Expect When You're Expecting Kittens. So you can learn, but you see that, in just 6 weeks, they go from this little packing peanut to this baby that's sleeping in my arms right now.
Well, that was the other thing that I thought was so great about the book is that, and I said this in the introduction, and I mean this, it covers everything. We do get a little bit of your story, but the depth of the poop color chart that you create, it's just it speaks to the level of experience, how long you've been doing this, what you've learned while you've been doing it. What in terms of research did you go into when you were setting out to kind of make this definitive collection of your accumulated knowledge? This book must have been a huge undertaking for you.
Yeah.
What was that like, getting all that together and making sure all that information was exactly where you wanted it to be?
Thank you, that's a great question. Well, I worked with a lot of other people who I consider to be wonderful experts in this field to make sure that the information in the book is not only accessible and comprehensive, but is scientifically accurate and correct. I worked with veterinarians, with veterinary technicians, with experts in the various areas that I'm discussing in the book. But honestly, it's important for people to know you can learn this knowledge in so many different ways, and a lot of it you get through experience. You doing okay there?
Yeah, I'm doing great. I can just feel this little guy is
You need a hand?
Oh, I just want a guide.
So
I don't want to pull,
This is called Kitten Velcro. Ooh.
Oh, you all right? You got him?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay, come back around.
Okay. All right, I've stolen your kitten.
That's okay. He's probably going to have more fun over there. So you were saying you worked with a lot of amazing experts in assembling all this information. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's okay. Kittens are distracting, and kittens come first. But a lot of it is accumulated knowledge you get through time. So the more that you get invested in saving lives, you learn a new skill with pretty much every kitten you get in. That's one of the really exciting things about being involved in animal welfare is there's always more to learn.
How did you know, because you mentioned this earlier, that you think every kitten's the best kitten as you meet each one, and they all are. How did you know what stories to include, what to put in the book, what to leave out of the book? Because there are so many great stories of kittens that you've encountered and what you've learned from those things over the years.
Sure, yeah. So there's a couple dozen kitten stories peppered throughout the book, and what I'm doing was really weaving together narrative of my kitten rescue adventures with instructional information, how-tos, charts. And the way that I chose the stories was I chose stories that really illustrate what I'm trying to teach. I think that, if I'm just talking about big concepts and big, heavy statistics that are very sad, you know, when we zoom in on those statistics, they're just individual lives. And so I try to teach using individual stories so that people can see that, you know, if I'm teaching you how to treat fleas, I also want to tell you a story of a kitten I found outside that was covered in fleas who is living a great life now. You know, when you zoom in on the individual, I think it really brings it home for people, makes people care a lot, and then also gives people hope like, hey, you know, if that lady did it, I can probably do it too.
When did you realize that people were identifying with you as like, hey, that lady that did it? Like, when did you understand the impact of like the platform you had built? Like before the book, right? Like you have a couple of million followers and fans all over the world that are inspired by the work that you do. When did you realize that you were reaching those people and that you had this platform?
I'm blown away all the time that there are so many people who are invested in this, and it has happened very organically and much to my delight and dismay. I started sharing many years ago just to provide educational information to people I was working with or friends and family who had questions about kitten care, and it started to really blow up because the reality is there wasn't really this information in a comprehensive way online. It was really, really hard to find information about what to do, and not just information, but also like a friendly voice and somebody who you can relate to. I try to really overshare and be my most like sincere, open version of myself with everybody, show everything, not just the fun stuff, but also the hard stuff, so that people feel like, hey, I have a friend in this. I have, you know, not just a resource, but somebody who I know is there for me. You know, if it's the middle of the night and something happens, I don't know what to do. You know, Kitten Lady's got a YouTube video for that. And, you know, I'm going to be there, and I'm not going to speak down to you. I'm going to tell you, you know, through my experience, what I've learned, and hopefully that can support people. But it is a really, really amazing community. The online community, the cat community is amazing. And the beautiful thing about the online cat community is that a community exists offline too. It enables us to connect with each other so that we can be, you know, better rescuers, be better advocates, and collaborate together. And that's one of the exciting things about being on a book tour right now is I get to actually see these people in person.
That's right. Yeah, you're traveling. You have. I think you're going to be at the Strand tonight.
Yes.
And then I want to say you're in Boston sometime.
Boston. I'm going to be in DC, Baltimore area, Atlanta, Chicago, and then back to my home in San Diego.
How often when you go to these things, it hasn't appeared to have happened thus far at this particular talk, but do people come to you with cats?
Oh gosh,
And they bring you cats all the
Sometimes
time?
people bring me a kitten, and it's like they want me to bless their kitten like the Pope kissing a baby. And I'm like, if I have to.
Bless my kitten. What does your kitten blessing process look like? Do you just give it
just kiss them on the head.
Yeah. That's all you can do.
You just kiss them on the nose. Here, I'll show you. It looks,
yeah, let's see. Let's bless
it
this.
looks something like this.
Oh my gosh. Now, these, you know, speaking about blessing these kittens, these three, thanks to our friends over, I'm trying to remember here.
New York ACC.
Thank you. And I had the website. It was nycacc.org, or did I get that backwards?
Probably nycacc.org. It's New York City Animal Care and Control.
Yes.
They're the local shelter here. They do great work with kittens. And if you're in New York City, New York ACC is a great place to go foster or adopt or volunteer. But no matter where you are, you can find kittens like these to foster or adopt,
If you volunteer, what's some like the stuff that you can do if you go volunteer, like if to give just some time?
Well, there are so many different ways to be a cat advocate. I mean, you can volunteer with everything from, you know, hands-on care, providing the actual care to these guys, you know, cleaning, scooping poop, feeding them. But you can also do other types of volunteer work. I think it's important for people to realize, and I actually have a section in my book called Find Your Feline Superpower. And it's about finding what works for you. Maybe you don't want to go into the shelter and volunteer, but maybe you have great administrative skills, or, we have an escape artist.
We have somebody climbing out. We've got a jumper.
Maybe you are skilled in some other way, like you want to create crafts for your local shelter, or you're a graphic designer who can help make booklets for your local rescue group. I mean, there are so many ways to help cats. Even just having a car and being a transporter, that's really helpful. So I encourage people to get creative. Whatever skills or resources you have, you can use to help cats.
Well, and that's a great part of the book, and I asked that question specifically because I think a lot of people might be I don't want to say intimidated, but like the idea of like, almost like I don't know that I can handle the responsibility, but I want to do something to help. And it's like, yeah, even if you just help design the way these messages are communicated, there's so many different ways that you can contribute. But yeah, so these three are from our friends nycacc.org. But these three specifically, if you wanted to adopt either one of these three, our friend, I want to say it was Kitten B&B, and yell at me if I'm getting that wrong backstage.
Kitten B&B.
Kitten B&B is the direct line to these three little individuals who are looking for forever homes right now.
And I just brought out the other one so that he can say hi to. This is Ted.
This is Ted? Oh, have you met Ted? Look at it. Look at that. Look at that.
He was napping. But kittens really only have 2 modes, which is totally asleep or wild and crazy. So I think he's coming out of sleep and he's about to maybe come jump on you. His little face
is absolutely perfect. They are the sweetest little creatures that we've had on stage in a very long time. There's another part of your book. We're going to go to audience in a little second here, but there was another part that I really wanted to bring up that I thought was great, and it's like towards the end, I think, and it's the part about taking care of yourself, so that you can also take care of your furry friends and those around you. And I'm curious, was that a lesson that you had to learn on your journey and figure out, or was it something you've always
ongoing lesson? Yes, I think that. It's so important for people to know self-care is animal care if you are an animal rescuer. So just like you're putting on the to-do list that you need to make sure that they're fed and you need to make sure they go to the vet, you also need to put yourself on the to-do list. What happens is when you get involved in animal welfare, it's very easy to really dive in deep and find that, wow, there's so many animals in need of help. I feel like I have to do everything. Suddenly, your own care falls by the wayside and you are not making sure that you're getting enough sleep and enough, water and just basic things, self-care. But then also there are other skills that you have to learn, like boundary setting is a huge one, because as soon as I started taking on kittens, it was like the phones never stop ringing. You have to know how to set good boundaries and feel really proud of yourself and the work you're doing. So I wrote a whole chapter about resilience in animal welfare and the importance of being a resilient and strong person who can do this for years to come. I want this movement not just to be bleeding hearts, but also strong minds and people who can say, hey, I have to take care of myself too. Sometimes it's okay to say, I want people to say yes to fostering, but sometimes I want people to say, no, I need a week off. I'm going to go on vacation this week, and then I'll do it next week, because that's how we're going to be able to be strong, resilient rescuers. So in that section of the book, I talk about a lot of my personal journey. I have certainly gone through, it's called compassion fatigue, and compassion fatigue is really this secondary form of traumatic stress where you kind of absorb the trauma that you witness when you work with vulnerable animals, and that's a signal that you got to take a step back. You need to really evaluate, making sure that you have a balanced life, because my goal is to be able to save as many lives as I can for the duration of my time on this planet. So let's all do this work really well. I hope that I've given some not just background information on building resilience, but also like tangible ideas for ways that people can. I have lists in there. Like, here's the things that you can do today to make sure that you're going to be a resilient rescuer.
The book really does have everything. It's got lists and resources. It's got advice and stories. It's got again hundreds of incredibly adorable photos of cats in tiny hats in various stages of their growth and life. And I think before this book ever existed, you've already made such a huge dent. But now I feel like it's just amplified even more, and a whole new audience of people are going to discover all the amazing stuff that you do, and I think be inspired by what you've written here. It's a fantastic book. You should be very excited.
Thank you.
And proud.
That really means so much to me.
Oh, well, it means so much to me what you do, and the time that you've given to these amazing little friends of ours, and that you're here sharing this message and doing this. So thank you for taking time and hanging out with us. We've got to get some questions from the audience. I think I have time for at least one. Can I do one? Let me get one from the room right now. I see a microphone all the way in the back. Go for it.
Hi. So my mom and I have fostered a couple cats in our day, and you spoke a little bit about resilience. So I guess I just had, do you have any advice for people who struggle to, like, not take in a cat, and like not being able to, not being able to take it, but also can't like not leave it?
Like, how do you help cats when there are more cats than you can as one person help? Yeah, I deal with that every day. And honestly, a lot of that is about community building. So, not being afraid to delegate, ask for help, build community with other people. I have a whole section in the book about that, the importance of having people you can call on. I think that when you build a strong community with other people who care about the same things you do, and then also inspire other people who maybe didn't even realize that they do care about this issue, you have other people that you can ask for help. And it's never a bad thing to ask for help or to admit, hey, I'm one person, I can only do so much. I have to say no all the time, and it's hard. I don't share every single time. I don't share every animal that I don't take, right? I share the animals that I do, but I am asked to do so much, and I have to, I picture it like I'm on a road, I'm on a path, and I know where I'm going, and I know I'm doing as much as I can to get where I need to go. And when there's things, in your periphery, people asking you for so much help, you kind of have to say like, hey, that's not like the path that I'm on right now. I'm doing the most that I can, and can we get somebody else to help with these things? This is the importance of movement building, because there are only so many of me and you, but there's a lot of other people out there. This is a cat-loving world, and I think this is an issue that we can solve. We just have to raise awareness. But thank you for caring so much.
This is a great question. Can I squeeze in one more? I'd love to get one more if I can. I saw somebody had their hand up. Go for it. Yeah, let's hear it. What do you got?
Is this thing working?
Yes, it is.
Okay. How many would you say in total have you rescued? Say you would have rescued so far since you started.
If you had to put a number on it.
Oh my gosh. Everybody asks me this question, and I wish I had kept a tally. All I ever say is many hundreds, but I don't actually have a number. I wish that I did. But I do recommend, if you're just starting your fostering journey, like, keep a journal with the before and after photos so you can celebrate each one and you can count. I wish that I knew how many, but it's a lot. I foster a lot, and I've been doing it for 10 years. Yeah.
And you also have to factor into like the amount of people that you've inspired to also foster and take care and help as well. Like that number gets huge if you start to think about it.
I think that helping cats and helping kittens, it's not just about the physical work we do in our homes. It's also about the education that we do. It's about the kittens we prevent from being born through sterilization programs. I hope that my impact is much wider than just the kittens that I've personally raised. But in terms of ones I've personally raised, a whole lot.
Because there is a maximum number that you can handle at once. What's that number? How'd you find it?
Okay, so everybody's gonna have a different number.
Yeah, everybody's got, like, you had to find yours.
You have to understand, I do this is like my entire life, and for me, I'm not comfortable fostering more than 12 at a time.
Okay.
And people always ask me, how many kittens do you have in your home? And they expect me to go, I have 500 kittens in my home. And
I just have a farm and it's just filled with 1,000 kittens.
No, because the truth is, these guys are very vulnerable. If a kitten gets sick, that's like, my entire attention is there. I can only do so many and do it really well. So this is what I'm talking about when I talk about resilience, boundary setting,
100%,
being like a sustainable rescuer. You want to have good boundaries, do the work really well, not just be inspired to get involved, but be inspired to do the work to the best of your ability, and to ask other people to help. That's really what it's all about.
Well, yeah, and I ask because I think it's a really important number to be aware of, especially if
But not everybody wants, for some people, and I tell people, start small, even if you say, okay, maybe you say once a year I foster 1 litter of kittens, and that's my litter of kittens that I do for the year. That's an awesome thing to do.
It's a huge contribution.
Yeah, it's a huge contribution, and I'd much rather somebody do that and be really happy and jazzed when they do that every year. I think that's something anybody can do.
Yeah, no, I think it's an important thing to know, and I was curious if there was ever a moment where you turned around and you were like, all right, this got away from me. This is this is a lot of kittens.
yeah. When I was younger, I found that line by crossing it and going, oh, I'm gonna need more people than just me to do this, because one person can't do everything. And that's really what tiny but mighty means to me. It's not just that the kittens are tiny but have mighty spirits, but it's also that mighty movements are made up of tiny individuals. And I know I'm just one tiny person, but if I can get a lot of other individuals to do it, then we can do a lot.
That is the perfect spot for us to wrap up this conversation. Talk about sticking the landing. I had so much fun with you, and I'm so happy that you came by and hung out with us for a little bit, and that you brought Ted and, oh my God, Barney and
This
Marshall.
one's Barney. You want to say bye-bye to Barney?
I don't, honestly, but I do think I need to say bye-bye to Barney. And we've had a lot of fun here together. I want to thank you guys for being a great audience and hanging out with us, asking some great questions, those tuning in online. Tiny But Mighty, it's available right now. And like I said, if you're a person with eyes, you're going to love this book. It's fantastic. It's got a lot of stuff in there that you're going to dig. Also, head over to nycacc.org to see if there's some furry friends that you can take home. And then for these three, for Barney and Marshall and Ted, if you head to Kitten B&B, it's like Airbnb, but Kitten B&B, great idea. You can find these three there, and you can take one of them home literally right now. So thank you so much again. Everybody make some noise and say thank you. Hannah Shaw right here.
Thank you.